Is it working? It's working.
See you. You're good.
Cool. I guess let's go.
You still have the E4 remake thing, but that's fine.
I don't have the other coming soon image, so I just use the E4 remake one. But yeah,
I can send you that before the end of the day.
I have the GameStop 15-minute bar chart over here. There's 2 minutes left in the trading day. GameStop did not trade inside day. It broke down below yesterday's low of 23.16 by 3 cents. So we don't really have an actionable signal on the daily to watch. The weekly chart is still a mess. Monthly, you've had back-to-back hammers that have kind of countered each other. We're still inside of this big-ass month of May, that range. So we'll see what happens today. And then, yeah, just to continue the time frame continuity conversation, we are inside quarter as well. And then on the year, it's a reversal strategy up to the upside above $27.65 a share. It's currently about $4 below that. So we'll see what happens. Earnings results are imminent from GameStop, so we will be reporting them live here. And then I'm going to have to turn around and write articles because no one else is at Shacknews today except for
It's just us. It's just us today.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you, actually.
Sure.
So, like, is the GME stock just a good example of like how volatile the stock market can be? Because like you've always said, like it's a very reactive market, right? A very knee-jerky market. But like this stock has been like a roller coaster, like in extreme levels, for, like over the last couple years.
4 years. I don't think this is no. To answer your question quickly, no. I don't think that GameStop's volatility is representative of something you should expect from the broader market. But it is the poster child of almost everything that's wrong with the current stock market. What caused its original squeeze was short sellers were allowed to short more shares than exist. That shouldn't happen. But you know, the original squeeze was because a lot of people were betting they weren't even going to make it through the launch of PS5 and Xbox Series X. Well, not only did they make it through it, they actually came out on the other side ahead because they've raised some money and stuff. So things
we were at PAX.
Sorry, go ahead.
We were at PAX in 2019 or 2018, and they were like $3 a share, and we were speaking to them about like, do you think they're going to go under? Remember that conversation we had?
I did the math back in 2020, and yeah, they were likely to go bankrupt by the end of 2020, with the lockdown and all that other stuff. But they made it, and now they're sitting on somewhere around $4 billion of cash because of some opportunistic secondary offerings this year. That's after they wasted almost $1 billion on their NFT bet, which was...
They had a whole marketplace there. They invested so much money into that project.
It was horribly timed, though. Like, they were late. The market had burst by the time they shipped their marketplace. And you still see people out there who are still pushing that agenda. But we'll see what happens.
No, and now they're switching to retro games, and we reported it on the Shacknews site, where like they just take fake games now. So like that's even worse for them. Like they just want all this inventory to like, so they want inventory to fill their stores. That's what they have. They don't have inventory. My friend owns 3 local gaming stores that all specialize in retro, and he's having trouble getting inventory because now they're getting into it. So
yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, well, sorry, I jumped back to our camera, but yeah, they already failed once at selling used games.
Right.
Like, why are we like, what is this your big idea? Your big idea is to, I don't know, let's sell used games again. It's like, no, and also, like, they're grading Pokemon cards and, like, but none of the stuff they're offering is, like, actually of a good value to collectors. Like, very little of what they're doing is actually worth the money. So yeah, let's see. I'm gonna start refreshing the GameStop investor relations page. So
No, and they're on like they're on a lot of locations are one man stores unless you're in like a populated area. Then there's two people, but the
big
one here is
time.
always one person there all the time, and I'm
Yes,
like,
that is true. Wait, bad players are sabotaging everything. Let's be real. You think you don't realize there's a huge movement behind GameStop? Man, I've been following the stock for a really long time. So if you want to make claims like that GME member, go ahead. But I think I've been covering this stock longer than you knew it even existed. And yeah, I understand that there is a movement there. I think that the movement is kind of falling apart. But yeah, there's definitely a movement. And it's a individual retail investors versus Wall Street. It's like Occupy Wall Street, but it's happening actually in the stock market. But GameStop is a company, and it is trading at a very high valuation relative to its earnings. Now, that's because they have $4 billion of cash. Yeah, so we'll see. How is it falling apart? I don't know. Does Roaring Kitty own any shares? Yeah. We don't know, do we? Maybe there's a YOLO update coming. How do you know he owns 9 million shares? How do you know for certain that he owns 9 million shares? I don't. I know he bought almost the same amount of shares in Chewy.
wait, did he say? Did he say that he purchased 9 million like on one of his live streams?
He
Or in a
disclosed with an SEC filing that he had bought a 5% or more stake in Chewy about a week after he sold his GameStop shares, most likely, after the shareholder meeting. I just don't think Keith Gill had another $300 million lying around. I think he took it from GameStop, he put it in Chewy, and then last week he implied that he sold his Chewy with an image of him throwing a... It's that Toy Story meme of throwing Woody in the trash, except he put a dog's face on it. So yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna start. I'm not angry. I'm actually just tired. He hasn't been dumping his own money into it. He's dumped very little of his money into it compared to what Keith bought earlier this year, actually. And then when was the last time Ryan actually bought shares? Like a while ago. Larry bought some this year. My point is that as the stock was squeezing, he issued 2 secondary offerings to stop the squeeze. Literally the day that Keith Gill became a billionaire, he issued shares. Okay, we have numbers out. GameStop is a earnings beat and a revenue miss. They were expected to post nearly $900 million of revenue. Greg, they posted $798 million of revenue and a 4-cent per share earnings number. So they beat on earnings, they missed on revenue. The stock is reacting. Let me get a 1-minute chart up for you. First reaction was to sell it. Second reaction is to buy it. And yeah, I'm gonna wait till the press release comes out, but the initial numbers are, I would say, mixed results. It's a beat on the bottom line, it's a miss on the top line. This has kind of been happening. It hasn't been consistent, but this has been happening at GameStop for the past few years. GME is forever. It's really not. It's until they run out of money or they take the company private. That's the one thing, is if the stock goes low enough, they can just take it private, which I think might be what ends up happening. Okay, so we have an inside minute here. We can watch.
Yeah, man, that's fine. If you like the stock,
by all means,
no one's telling not to invest in it. If you like the stock, go for it.
Yeah, I'm never gonna tell people not to. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your money, but I'm gonna say why I did what I did with my money, which was get out of the stock. Because I think the shuttering of Game Informer shows you that he has no idea what kind of assets he has at GameStop. And when I say he, I mean Ryan Cohen. Yeah, if you like the stock, man. I got nothing but love for you guys. If you guys like the stock, like the stock. I'm never going to tell people not to invest. And I'm never going to tell individual investors to try to stand up to Wall Street. My point is that I don't think Ryan Cohen is really aligned with a lot of the original movement. I think he kind of joined on as Keith Gill was pushing the stock higher, and that movement and Reddit started. And I don't like that he issued the secondary offering when the stock was at 60. That bothered me. Okay, so the adjusted EPS is 1 cent. So it's still a beat. GameStop beat on the top. It beat on the bottom line. It did not beat on the top line. But yeah, I believe Ryan Cohen at the shareholder meeting said that unprofitable revenue is not worth keeping around. So it seems to be that if they're not making money on something, they're going to get rid of it. And Game Informer was probably one of those things. But if you ask, I don't know, Greg, anyone in our industry, the Game Informer cover was like one of the most valued things.
Yeah, it was one of the last, like, they had print media issues. Like, their video team did fantastic work, like, absolutely fantastic. But, like, it's not profitable. Like, that's the thing about journalism. It's not profitable. Like, so I get, but like cutting that, like, how much money could he have possibly saved bottom line by cutting that website? You know what I mean? Like, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Couple hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe like $250 a year. Like, it was minuscule. Like, absolutely. In the hindsight of things, I feel like there are other things you could have done to cut back on costs rather than just throw Game Informer
or sell it.
Yeah,
like, you don't just shut it down, you sell it. You're not older than me. You're talking about Quake 3 like it's old school. I just look young. I look young.
Yeah, dude, you could like the stock. Look, yeah, like, no one's told you not to invest. We're reflecting data and giving you feedback on it. That's all we're doing.
How dare you, Greg? You're using logic and reason. Why would you do such a thing? But yeah,
You're doing it. You're doing
it. I am all for people standing up to Wall Street. I think it's a good thing. But I also am a realist, and I think Ryan Cohen is not acting in the best interest of shareholders. He's acting in the best interest of himself, but not shareholders. That's just my opinion.
Sometimes
that's just
yeah.
My
sometimes I feel like he knows how to goad, like, people, or like manipulate the stock
market. What do you mean,
market.
like by changing his profile picture to a female and changing his pronouns to she, her?
Doing things like that to manipulate the market. I don't know how that's
Kamala
that's not legal. Yeah.
2069 to tweeting Donald Trump 2024. Yeah, he's the master of distracting from the fact that he's doing a terrible job at GameStop. He's also the idiot that told Reggie Fils-Aimé, the former president of Nintendo of America, that he didn't think he had anything to bring to the team, that they wanted to work without Reggie.
Well, that was the thing. Like, he was probably like, God, I wish you could be in those meeting rooms. Like, I'm sure he developed a strategy and told them what they could do, and they were just like, no. And they just didn't want to do it. So they just fired him.
They didn't fire him. They were just like, we're not going to let you. Oh, look, the stock's going up. People are excited. I think they're looking at the profit more than they are the revenue, which is fine.
Oh, damn, it is. It is.
Stock
Wow,
is up. You had a couple of you had an inside minute, followed by a hammer, followed by another. Yeah, you got a little bit of a breakout, but let's see. I'm gonna go on a longer time frame. We're gonna go to like 5-minute bar chart here. So the earnings have only been out for about 15 minutes right now, so the stock's still reacting to it. Historically, on GameStop earnings days, whatever makes option holders lose the most money is what happens. So the stock doing nothing is actually kind of a good thing, because it means volatility's coming out of it. It means that some of these things are already priced into the stock. The decrease in revenue, for instance, seems to be priced in. Because, like I said, it's the one time where Ryan's actually conveyed any information to us at the shareholder meeting. He said, unprofitable revenue is not something I value. And they turned a profit on less revenue. So that's actually him doing what he said he would do.
And look, I agree too, because like that, like it did, like when this was early GME, but when the stock skyrocketed and like a lot of hedge fund managers lost a crap ton of money, it was a movement. Like you were costing the top elite traders to lose hundreds of thousands, not millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of coasted on that ever since. Not to say that's still not a movement. I think it can be, but good lord, like it. Yeah, I mean, it's such an. It's been an interesting time covering this over the last 4 years, Asif. Just on, it's just very interesting.
Oh yeah. Um, I think it's safe to say that GameStop brought in a lot of people who were novices to investing, and that's a good thing. But it also opened the door for a lot of people who just flat out lie. And those people were on the short side. Andrew Leff from Citron Research is one of those people. Tons of analysts. Michael Pachter, who I think had like a $4 price target on this stock before he increased it recently. A lot of people out there are not being honest about GameStop. And I'll never tell you anything other than GameStop has a very solid balance sheet. Their revenues are declining, and I think that their CEO doesn't know shit about video games. And I don't know if that matters. I think there's a lot of people who own the stock who also don't know much about video games because they think some of these deals that are happening for used games are actually good. Whereas if you go to, like, I don't know, a mom and pop used game store, you can get better deals for a lot of these things. And like the idea that retro games are going to be some sort of savior to GameStop is hilariously ridiculous. They already failed at that. But here's some stories from the. I got the press release. Net income was $14.8 million for the quarter compared to a loss of $2.8 million in the prior year's second quarter. That's great. Cash and equivalents were $4.2 billion at the close of the quarter. They decreased selling, general, and administrative expenses by about $50 million. So that has a lot to do with how they beat on earnings. They decreased their costs. That's how things work. You had
number go. You make number go up by decreasing. You can two ways, right? More profit or decrease cost.
Yeah, but you have to have revenue coming in, which they do. But you're talking about they had $1.1 billion of revenue in the Q2 2023. This quarter was $798.3 million. So if revenue keeps declining, Greg, and it outpaces the cost cutting, that can become a problem. That's not a problem right now. I do want to look at their statement of cash flows because to me that's the most interesting
a few years ago, I think in 2019 or 2020, the store, we have one store in a whole town. Like they were $1 million store a year, and that was a one-person store here in like a super rural area of California where there's not a lot of people.
Yeah, they made about $273 million from the sale and maturities of marketable securities. So that's pretty good. So their investing activities netted them $268.2 million. Operating activities lost them $41.2 million, and they repaid $5.5 million of debt during the quarter. And then obviously they issued around $3 billion of stock. So their cash flow for the quarter was an increase of $3.278 billion. $3 billion of that came from that secondary offering. But even if you ignore the secondary offering, they were cash flow positive because of how they've been managing their balance sheet and their cash position, investing in treasuries. So this makes me wonder what's going on their balance sheet. They decreased their holdings of marketable securities. So that normally Ryan he's been rolling over his position in treasuries. He didn't do that this quarter. They had $300 million of marketable securities last year at this time. They only have $11.1 million. So he took the interest and the principal back, and they are now sitting at $4.2 billion of cash. But he hasn't done anything with it. If people are wondering at home, like nothing's been done with the money, but he has $4.2 billion on the balance sheet. Yeah, I'm actually trying to write a story here, Greg. So, you have any questions, thoughts?
I just think it's such an interesting stock because like yeah, I
You
like
see
it
how
started
violently
out.
angry people get when you say anything that's even remotely not positive about it.
Yeah, but I also feel like from a consumer standpoint, for someone who's not as knowledgeable as you in this end, I also feel like it's like Ryan Cohen giving himself a medal. You know that meme where he gives himself his own medal? Like they feel like they're doing all these things when collectively it's like a community that are just buying and selling like crazy. And I don't think a lot of them even understand why they're doing it. They just are told to do it because it's a movement or whatever, because you're sticking it to the man or it's gonna go to 300 again or whatever, right? I mean, I've seen the loss porn on Reddit, right, where
Mm-hmm.
people are investing all this stuff, and it's like this. The community is very interesting. I don't pretend to know more than you or anybody else in the chat probably, but like it's just from an outsider's perspective looking in, it's very, very fascinating to me. The volatility of the stock and the I know you don't like people call it the memeability of the stock, right? Like how people like to post their earnings of like $30 million. I don't know what people like. Do people have that money? Like, what are they doing on Reddit? That's the one question I want to know. If you have that money, I wouldn't even be on social media, dude. I'd just be in the living room doing my stuff, living my best life.
Well,
But that's wild.
if you're talking about loss porn, you're talking about Wall Street Bets.
Yeah.
That's not the GME subreddit. The GME subreddit is super stonk, and they don't really post loss porn there. It's more just due diligence, rumors, and news. They love to screenshot Shacknews articles and post them there without providing hyperlinks back to us.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting stock. I mean, I wouldn't. It's a little too volatile for my taste, and like you've always said, like don't invest what you're not willing to lose, which is great advice. Because at a certain level, it can be gambling. You know what I mean? Like you are gambling if something's gonna go up or down. I play my stocks nice and safe and boring, super boring. But I like boring.
Yeah, look, I'm the one who recommended that boring stock to you.
Yes.
But yeah, it's they missed revenue by almost $100 million. So that's
I
not
feel like
great.
sometimes it's the opposite, where they
Beat on revenue and they miss on earnings.
revenue, miss on earnings, and that's better, right? Because that means they did better than they were expecting.
No, honestly, I would prefer this than the alternative because they're profitable, Greg, and like being profitable and being cash flow positive is more important than growing revenue right now for this company. If they can, the longer they can stay solvent, the more incorrect the short sellers are. The problem here is because of the secondary offering, the short interest isn't as high. It's 11%. That's not, and people are gonna be like, but the swaps, but the options, and it's like, yeah, there's other stuff behind this, but the actual short interest is much lower than it used to be, and that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, the stock is very. Ryan Cohen himself is a very interesting person.
Nice
I would describe him as manipulative, incoherent, and just fucking
Cringe.
weird.
Cringe.
Like I don't understand. I'm not. Like I'll never understand the need of like you have like he did all this. He like made a bunch of money doing like middleman stuff in like in became like a middleman, like almost like a what do they call them, a distributor kind of like originally, right? And then he founded Chewy, made all his money there, and then he became CEO of GameStop. Like, why not just retire when you have $500 million in the bank and just be like, I'm
He
done.
had billions when he became a GameStop shareholder, Greg.
I won capitalism. Why not just fucking be like, wipe your hands and be like, I'm out? Like, why keep making more?
GameStop will not hold a conference call today. That's another problem with this stock.
They don't have to, right? Like they don't legally
should,
have to.
Though. A good company would.
But that's the thing. Like, it's one of those things where, like, unless the federal government tells you you have to, you're not going to do it. You know,
Yeah,
like
except I don't know, Greg. How many fucking conference calls do we cover here?
a lot.
And
A
have
lot.
you ever heard Tim Cook pull this shit?
No, but then again, like, that company is probably it has more cash than GameStop, right? Is more valuable
It's
than
way
GameStop.
more valuable. That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, good companies tell you how they're doing.
Right. That's
That's all I'm saying. It's like, just tell us how you're doing. Tell us what you're gonna do with the $4 billion.
golden parachute, also clearly. That's
No,
what they're
like,
gonna do.
what are you going to do with the $4 billion, man? Like, that's the fucking question. And, like, that's the question I would ask if I was an analyst on that call. That doesn't happen. I would ask the CEO of GameStop, what do you plan to do with the $4 billion? Because if it's just sitting on the balance sheet like this, that is a waste of money. He could put it all into treasuries, just in the 1 month T-bill, and just roll that over, and that would be better than leaving it in cash. Now,
Yep.
like, maybe they want it in cash so they can do something, but at least let us know. This, like, black box attitude is stupid. That's a I don't know, man. It's
Which it is weird because as shareholders we have a right to know what's happening with the company, but
yes.
I guess they just do the minimal amount they're legally required to do.
This is it. We are getting info from them right now, right? Like, that's we got info. This is the most information we get from them every 3 months. But, like, it's this idea that this is okay, that this is, like, a good way to behave. No, it's not. Good companies don't act like this.
No, it's just like,
This
I mean,
is how
I've
bad
interviewed a
companies
lot of
act. This is how companies that don't know what they're doing act. This is what someone who would shut down Game Informer without even trying to sell it. That's what this looks like. So it's like he's a clown. He's definitely a clown. And I like this whole, oh, he's a savvy investor and this is all smart. The time to give this guy the benefit of the doubt has passed. In my opinion.
You know, I've interviewed a lot of esport athletes, and I'll tell you that, like, whenever they win, they always like to do interviews. When they lose, they don't want to do interviews.
Problem with this guy,
So, I mean,
we don't even know if it's a win or a loss, Greg. We just know that he doesn't want to talk. That's all we know.
He's just...
And we know that Reggie Fils-Aimé went on the record saying, I don't think they really have a strategy. Because when he sat down, he was like, let's knock out a strategy together. They're like, nah, we don't need you. We got our plans. Let me get my disclosure. I still own some shares. I did liquidate my largest position in the stock, but I have some calls, and I still own some shares in this company. But I am not.
Do you have options? Did you buy options?
I have some call options that expire. Let me tell you. January 2025, and I have one set of calls that expire January 2026. But I don't. My actively managed portfolio does not have GameStop shares anymore. Because I like companies that actually tell me how they're doing and what they're doing.
Especially with the way the economy is going too. Like, it's not looking great. Like, everyone's like, oh, we just gotta. Why is it I feel like a lot of economists and other ways, like, we just gotta wait till next year and everything will be better. And it's like, because there's an election cycle coming up and that has a huge thing. But I don't. For me, like I said, consumer ground level, I don't think next year's gonna get better. I think it's just gonna get worse. Like, this is just building up to something, another crash. You know, like, we're just waiting.
I don't have any certainty on that. I don't really have much of a read through. I don't see evidence of a economy on the verge of collapse, and I don't see evidence of an economy that's doing well. I see kind of just a somewhat...
Everyone's holding their breath. Like, they're like, and they're just waiting for something to happen. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's been a while since we've had something really bad happen again. Like, what we do for, like, another crash? Like...
You're talking about
And there's
2008, Greg. Like that doesn't
that was a
happen.
bad crash.
That doesn't happen often. That was like a once in a century thing. So like, do I think that's gonna happen again? Probably not. But yeah, I'm still parsing through this earnings report because you know there's some interesting stuff in here. I did get our first article out the door though, so that'll be going live shortly. But yeah, this is an earnings beat, a revenue miss, is the proper way to describe what happened here today. And the stock,
So when it's an earnings miss and when it's an earnings miss and a revenue hit, is that better, or is that worse?
I'm telling you, it's not
in your
good.
opinion.
Like I want both to beat, Greg. In this
Right, you
market,
want both up.
in this market, you have to beat on the top and the bottom line, so that's revenue and earnings, and you have to provide guidance that's better than people expected. If you don't do all those three things, your stock might go down. Because that's the kind of market we're in right now. It's a frothier market than, I don't know, in recent history.
No, and like I think with GME, talking about GME specifically, GameStop specifically, is like they were the biggest of third party resellers of used games.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're getting the PS5 Pro was announced today, no disc on the standard one that's $700.
Hey, you can buy a disc drive for it for only $80, Greg.
Right, for $80 more, so $800 buy-in if you want to play physical media.
$780, Greg.
Yeah, that's tax. But no, yeah. So I mean that's got to affect their bottom line, because like if I can walk if a game is $70 on the PlayStation Store and $70 in GameStop, like what's more convenient for me? I guess to answer your question would be like if someone doesn't have internet access or high-speed internet access.
But even now, you can buy a physical game and you still have to update it. There's still a day one patch, right? Like they're not building games with that in mind anymore. To your point.
No, the disc, as far as I'm concerned, is your equivalent of a security dongle. Just you insert the disc to scan. Oh, you can play this because you have it. That's basically what I look at physical media for games.
Yeah, so let me see if there's anything else that I can parse from here.
And look, I don't hate physical media. I think it's important to have it, but I think the demand for it will be much lower as we continue to move forward. Like it'll never be gone.
I bought one game for Switch physically. Only one. So I'm just saying, like one. It was Breath of the Wild.
I think I have two games on Switch. I have Breath of the Wild and I have Mario Kart on Switch.
Yeah,
because that game was on. I think the game was on sale at one point for like $20. It's some kind of.
I'm refreshing their back end because I'm trying to see if they have the their 10K, or sorry 10Q. They sometimes disclose something. Let's see how traffic's doing on it. That will determine if I keep writing stories, Greg. Let's see.
The team at Shacknews is slim today.
There's not a whole lot of people around right now. So, yeah, I got the GameStop earnings story out there. I think that to me, the biggest takeaway from this is that they're cash flow positive. Even when you ignore the cash that they raised, they were cash flow positive for the quarter. Revenues are plummeting. Like, I wouldn't say that the revenue story is good. Because, like, what's going to stop the bleeding on the revenue side, Greg? Is it this big push to retro games? I doubt it.
I mean, that's a Band-Aid, right? Like, that's a Band-Aid. To spend something that's think it solve it right now. Maybe they're right this second right now. Yes, maybe. But like 20 years from now, when those games are even more rare and they get into like you get to the high value collector market and all that's left is the garbage, like what do you have left, right?
You have a bunch of Madden copies on the shelf from 2015.
Yeah. And the thing too is like the cartridges are worth money because those are becoming super limited now. But remember, PS2 to PS3 and even PS4 games were produced massively, like completely. It's going to take 50 years for those to become more rare than they are now. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
yes, the sealed copy of whatever PS3 Killzone you have in your closet may be worth $10,000 35 years from now or 40 years from now, but you're going to be like 80. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know if that's going to be enough to save them. Can they survive that long to like until like
My
PS3
point here
becomes?
right now is that yes, they can because they have $4.2 billion and they're not losing money. So like they're not. If they stop losing money, they can continue to exist for a very long time, Greg. But I'm not. What's weird is that like I don't know what this company looks like a year to 5 years from now. I think that they kind of are going to exit the video game industry and just
What do you
pivot
think
to
they'll
being
pivot
something
toward?
else.
I mean, Konami did that with arcade machines, with casino
Pachinko,
machines.
specifically pachinko
Yeah,
machines. Oh, it looks like we
yeah,
do
they
have
did
the
that with
10 key
gambling
from
machines.
GameStop.
So that's interesting. But like,
Okay.
what could they? Warehouse storage, maybe. I'm trying to think of things they could do now. I mean, you could rent warehouse storage out to like Amazon. Yes, maybe. I don't even know if you can do that anymore. It is scary watching all these companies buy out other companies. Like they bought ThinkGeek out, and then they didn't really do much with it. They like killed all their cool stuff that they were making.
ThinkGeek was the best thing they had on the retail side. They made cool things. They were getting exclusives. It was a lot like Game Informer, where like people liked working with ThinkGeek, and they got rid of it. That's stupid. I think the store should look more like ThinkGeek than GameStop, honestly.
I mean, have you been in one lately? Like, geez,
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in it all the time, but like my thing is just like we have games on one side and Funko Pops on the other. You're like, great, Funko Pops. Can't wait for that bubble to burst.
Interesting. The amount of directly registered shares decreased from 74.6 million last quarter to 72.8 million.
What does that mean, that they bought them back, or?
I mean, someone sold some shares.
Oh, so someone
or transferred them out. Either way, I'll write this up. This was easier when TJ and Donovan were around.
This was easier when we had multiple writers.
But I had a team that could write articles for me. It was a lot easier. This is hard. I can't find that. Where's that thing? I had the link and now I lost it. Is that it? No. Is that it? No. Oh, there it is. So, registered shareholders represent 17% of the outstanding stock at this time.
I'm guessing that Ryan Cohen holds the most shares on paper. How many shares does Ryan Cohen have?
A lot.
Because like he has to make making all these decisions, like killing off Game Informer, right? So when you want to do that and you're not majority shareholder, you have to take it to the board. The board has to vote, right? That's how that works.
He's chairman of the board, and he installed his own board of directors.
Oh God, he's surrounded by yes men. Oh great, terrific.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Our video disappeared for a second. Okay.
Whenever you click off Discord, it'll whenever you click on Slack or whatever, it'll turn it off.
That's annoying. I almost need a third monitor to do this stream efficiently, but it's fine.
3, 1, 2, 3.
You have 3?
Yeah.
I just have an ultra wide and then a regular. So, like, ultra wide kind of serves as multiple monitors.
Yeah. I mean, like, 2 of mine is one ultra wide, but I just like the ability to have 3 different windows to segment them out the way I like them. Mm-hmm. I guess you could do the same thing with the ultra wide, but just it's harder to store, harder to move, heavier. Anyway, yeah, this thing went all the way up to 23, almost 24, then went back down to 23 again. This thing is moving.
It's not really though, Greg. Like, so the first 5 minutes of after hours trading, it traded 63,000 shares. The next the next 5 minutes, it traded 614,000 shares. Then it traded 443,000 shares. Then it traded 289,000 shares. Then 74K. Then 100K.
People are just like basically holding. The majority of shares are just holding.
Don't
just
say people, man. It's not people.
It's machines, right?
It's machines. It's 90% of the volume in the stock market is governed by computerized trading. After hours, that number goes to like 98%. Because the liquidity is just not there for a retail investor to buy stock. That's why I tell people not to buy in after hours or pre-market. I usually wait till the market's open. So no, unless you have a stop order or something, you're not moving in after hours. That's not people. This is just the reaction of the computers. So, like I said, this is one of those things where, like, if you're like a GameStop bear and you're like, oh, they're going to report terrible earnings, I'm going to buy put options. So far, you lost money. And if you're a GameStop bull and you're like, the MOAS is happening today because they're going to report great earnings, I'm going to buy up a bunch of short-dated call options. You also lost because the stock's just sitting here doing nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is like, and it's not the first time, man. GameStop reports earnings, volatility decreases in the stock. It happens frequently. So people who buy options trying to speculate on moves in the stock, they get killed, and then they get mad, and then they show up in our chat. They blame us because we're the big bad media that writes terrible things about GameStop. Oh, you're gonna give me some viewers? How do I block this asshole? I got it. Where's the block button? There it is. Right there. Yeah, that's nice. Eat that block. So yeah, we have the 10Q now. Let's see if there's anything else. Third amended and restated certificate of articles of incorporation. They moved their company to Delaware for legal purposes.
That's wild.
Yeah, there's tax advantages to running out of Delaware.
No, that's what it is. I mean, like, I've heard of people like renting and like there's businesses that buy business parks and just rent the empty buildings out to save money on sales tax and weird shit like that. Like, it's wild. Absolutely wild. Because whatever monthly rent that year saves you however much money for the state so you don't get taxed. The tax loophole bullshit.
Yeah. It's a way to get around corporate tax.
Yep.
I'm going through their 10K and I don't see anything else. I think the directly registered share number is the thing that people will care about. But I guess my point is, Greg, like, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of shares trading every 5 minutes here. There are 426 million shares of GameStop.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So it's not. I don't want to say it's insignificant, but it's not material to the shares if a few million are trading after hours. And also, like, a lot of people haven't even heard this news yet. People are gonna analyze this over the next few days. You'll hear analysts come out with reports tomorrow about the stock. You'll hear influencers talking about how great this was or whatever. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was bad. I think this was just kind of like, you know what? Not really a strong time of year in general for video game sales. Although they did have, what do you call it? NCAA, right? That came out during this quarter. And by all accounts, that game sold well, and it even moved consoles, from what I've heard. So yeah, I'm working on my next story.
Yeah, I mean, like, there were a lot of games that came out this quarter. A Space Marine game, the NBA 2K.
Space Marine came out after. I want to say that the GameStop earnings report. Let me look at the period that they cover.
Oh yeah, what's the delay for the quarter? Yeah, because this is Q.
Because Warhammer just came out, right?
Yeah, that's September.
Yeah, this is for the quarter that ended August 3rd. So, yeah.
Oh, third, okay.
It doesn't even include Madden. This does include college football, though. But I think, going back to your point, I bought college football digitally.
Right? I mean, that's just. I mean, like, I think and also, like, remember, there's this younger demographic, and I think the younger demographic, we're talking about, like, maybe a little less Gen Z, they don't give a shit about physical media. Like, they don't care. Whatever's convenient and instant, that's what they will go for. I think GameStop will have an uphill battle with this next generation of kids as they become older and start to have excess income. Like, why would they buy a game at GameStop? Why would they not just buy directly from Steam or Epic Games or PlayStation Store? You know what I mean? Like, and, like, trust me, I get the people in the chat be like, "But physical media is so important," and, like, I agree. But, like, there's going to be a generational gap where they just don't care. You know what I mean? They're not going to care about physical media. They didn't grow up in the Super Nintendo era, the N64 era, or in an era where physical media was, like, required to play a game. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even I think it wasn't even until Xbox, the first Xbox, which was what, like 2001 or 2. Like, that's when you could start having a digital marketplace. Like, GameCube had to have physical discs. You know what I mean? Like, now we're in a generation that they don't need that to play. They just go to the eShop and they just buy stuff. So I think there's going to be an uphill battle for them eventually. They're going to have to pivot to something. You know, so you can't sell, like, V-Buck gift cards forever. You know what I mean? Like, because that's the only way my nephew, this is actually interesting, the only way my nephew gets digital currencies, because he's 15, doesn't have a credit card, but he'll get cash, go to a store, buy a V-Bucks card, and insert it into his account, because he doesn't have a credit card. So, like, that's how he does it. Like, that's the extent of physical media in our youth today.
I think the younger generation seems to be buying Pokemon cards, you know? Like, they're doing stuff like that, but they're not, physical media is not really a thing.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what they'll pivot to like a they'll just cards and collectibles. They'll just sell Magic cards and Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
It's not a bad idea.
Like, the console market's like, I bought my console on Amazon. You know what I mean? So, like, but that could have been like a GameStop digital store retailer. I didn't look at who I purchased it from. I know that's becoming a thing too. Like, Amazon seller, you can have Amazon sellers on Amazon that just sell their stuff. And I know some of the GameStop stores are franchises, I believe, right? Like, you can, like, they're individually owned. So they could be doing something like that, which is really smart for them, because yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting time. I like to describe it as something like being in Mario Kart between 3rd and 6th place. You don't want to be there because you're just getting hit with everything. Like, you're just gonna get hit by random stuff that's not even aiming for you is gonna hit you. And I feel like that's where I've been the entire economy. I've never been ahead of it. I've never been so far behind it. I've been right in the middle. I'm just getting hit with green shells, red shells, banana peels, crazy 8 stuff. Getting bumped off because it's just wild. From my perspective, as a lower middle class American.
I've been ahead. I've been behind. I'm kind of in the middle right now. If you're running a small business right now, you're not ahead.
No. No, I can tell you, one of my friends bought a location in a specific area because they said, "Oh, the summer, there's so many tourists, they'll make so much money." Did not happen. He's considering closing the location because he had a terrible summer. Just nobody was buying anything. So, like, and he's small business. He's super small. You know, he's the example that the big business likes to point to about successful small businesses. But think about all the small businesses. Yeah, it's wild. And I tell you, like, it's absolutely wild to see how much money people trade in these things, and I'm out of my depth at that point. I'm just completely out of my depth. when people are trading $250,000-$500,000 in stock value around. Money I'll probably never have in my lifetime.
Well, Greg, if you find a good stock and you hold it for a very long time, it can turn into a lot of money. And you won't even have to do anything. You just sit there.
Yeah.
But like, it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like, what I'm saying could take 20 years. And, like, you have to make money in between now and then. But, yeah. I guess I should post a stock chart in my article.
I mean, I can talk while you're... Like, does anyone have any questions in the chat? Like, I think it's cool because Asif is an expert in this field. And I'm very not educated in this. Still learning kind of trial by fire here. So I think it's an interesting perspective to see. Because I don't have the money to invest large amounts. And I think that's the manipulation of like, oh, it's a free market. Anyone can invest. Yes. And I get that if I make $1 off a stock, I'm up. But like making $1 is not the same thing as making $100,000 or $1 million. Like it's not going to change my life if I'm up $1 on GameStop, even though technically on paper I'm up.
But like when we think about what caused this whole thing, the frenzy around GameStop, Greg, it was a guy who took $50,000 and bet on GameStop big and won. And then kept rolling it over. He took $50K, which, yeah, that's still a lot of money, but that's not, like, unattainable.
That's someone's life savings. Yeah, that's someone's life savings.
That's like your savings account. That could be your IRA, like, whatever. Like, if you're in your mid-30s or 40s, $50K is, like, fuck it, call it $20K. He became a millionaire from that. And now everyone is chasing that, but you're all late. It already happened. You know? And then he came back in earlier this year and he did it again. He literally did it again. He bought call options when it was at 10 and he sold them when they were in the 20s and 30s. So he made like hundreds of millions of dollars again. And now everyone thinks again that they can now chase him. But like for every Keith Gill, there are 40,000 jaboofers out there who lose all of their money chasing penny stocks. And that's the thing that I find that's the weirdest about it. Keith Gill goes by deep fucking value, right? The Roaring Kitty and deep fucking value. He was right about this stock, not because it was a meme. He made a fundamental call that the company would not go bankrupt and that the shorts would have to cover. That was not, it was speculation, but it wasn't gambling. It was a calculated risk. What's going on now is gambling. That's the difference. Everyone thinks they can be Keith Gill. They can't. They worship him. They treat him like a deity. But like, Keith is in it for the money. And he's done it twice successfully. And everyone's chasing him. Everyone's falling over themselves trying to figure out what the next thing he's going to buy is. But like,
I mean, don't they make programs that allow you to copy the trades that certain people do? My brother uses it. Like that's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you could just do his trades.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he owns shares in GameStop anymore, and everyone seems to have confidence that he does, and I'm just not sure. I need evidence. He needs to either post another YOLO update or something. But if you look at his tweets and you look at when he sent out the tweets, it seems like he was upset with the shareholder meeting and that he sold and then he bought Chewy and then he sold Chewy. So he could just be sitting in cash. Right now, Warren Buffett has almost $300 billion in cash on his balance sheet at Berkshire Hathaway. That's concerning to me. The greatest investor of all time is raising cash. And now Keith Gill is raising cash. And we just had a very volatile few weeks in the stock market. And then the Japanese stock market crashed a month ago, right? So like, to your point, you're right. There are some very scary things happening in the underlying parts of the economy. And that could come home to roost next year. So maybe that's why they're sitting on the $4 billion of cash. But I find it unfortunate that we're sitting here.
Everyone's holding their breath. They're waiting for something to happen, and something may not. That's the problem thing. Like no one, there's no such thing as a seer. There's such thing as looking into the future, unless you do insider trading, maybe. But
Yeah, Nancy
that's
Pelosi.
illegal. Yeah,
It's illegal
that's
unless
illegal.
you're Nancy Pelosi.
Right. Yeah.
And it's perfectly legal if you're Nancy. She's my hero.
So it's very, yeah. I mean, someone's waiting for, and like I think the big part of it too is the election. There's an election year. Whoever gets voted in office, are going to be different rules and different taxes, things that happen. So
that's, I think, the leading cause of the volatility that we see, Greg.
The election year, yeah. There's a debate tonight, correct? I think Tuesday today. There's a debate tonight.
It's
so
yes, that's happening here.
And depending on the topics that come up, that even may have an effect on opening market tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like we don't like everything.
Absolutely. The whole capital gains discussion that Kamala Harris is having right now, that's affecting the stock market. Yeah, there's a lot of factors to what's going on that are outside of an individual stock's performance, and I think people would do well to just look at the whole picture. But the idea that GameStop is the only stock that you should invest in is so goddamn stupid, and it's pervasive among the community. There's only one stock. No, there's a lot of stocks.
I mean, I could relate from like, you know, if you ever go to Vegas, you know, put it all on black. You know what I mean? That's some people like to invest that way. You know, sure.
You've been to Vegas with me. Would I ever put it all on black?
No. It's like putting it all on 00.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, now, I'll say this. I do have most of my money in one stock right now, so I guess ignore everything else I said.
Hey, me too.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. I don't have to worry about the CEO tweeting transphobic shit.
Right.
He doesn't even have a Twitter. The CEO of Nintendo does not have a Twitter account. He's not on LinkedIn. He's not anywhere. He's at Nintendo working.
It's also not the headquarters not in the USA, so just technically different economy.
Yeah.
Technically different. If anything happens here, maybe they might be affected. They might not. We don't know. But
they will be affected. But I think the thing that and obviously this is turning into a discussion about Nintendo because we love Nintendo. We're long Nintendo.
Yes.
Nintendo's a better stock than GameStop.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It just is. It's a much better stock. Like they're having a down year, right? And they're about to ship the Switch 2 here. But yeah, like I like that my CEO is not at risk of saying horrible shit. You know, like I think that's a good thing. But
I mean, like it could be. I mean, just from a business standpoint, saying your opinion about something controversial, regardless of what their subject is, like can have an effect on your business. We saw that with Sticker Mule. You know, who they opened up, and that's their right to do that. They can support whoever they want. That's what makes the country. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have repercussions of people who don't like what you said and won't use you anymore. And after they made that statement, there was a big ad push I saw because I think they lost a lot of people. And I forget what the statement was originally, but they lost a lot of people with it. That's why so many companies avoid saying controversial statements like that. Well, obviously not.
Well, that's the funny thing, man. Like he went out and said that. He said, we should companies shouldn't make political statements. And then he goes on to make all these political statements. So like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth is really I think the biggest problem I have with him is that he's just not doesn't feel like he's being honest. At the very least, he's just not being forthcoming, and I think that's a problem too.
I mean, like, I really don't feel someone with that. I mean, I'm not saying people who have a ton of wealth aren't trustworthy, but I'm saying, like, I feel like you don't get that wealth by being a straight shooter. You know, like being a fair player and person who's just generally maybe there are people out there that have that much wealth, but like when you're a billionaire, you know, when you're close to being a billionaire, I think he is a billionaire, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think you get that way by being a good person, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's how that works in our country. Or in any capitalistic society. I think there are things you trade off. I like to describe it as giving away parts of your soul until there's nothing left. But hey, you have a mountain of money. You have billions of dollars. Like it only cost you every ethical and moral thing in your life. But hey, you did it. You know, you got them. You got the pile. This is my personal view on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could see because like I'm remembering all the stuff we covered when this originally skyrocketed, and they were doing interviews with hedge fund managers saying like I've lost everything. You know, these people who had millions and millions of dollars had lost everything because they had shorted, and it skyrocketed up, and they were just like losing a ton of money interest per day, and they were just like, this is just a collective thing to screw over the fat cat Wall Streets, and people were like, yeah, duh, yes, it was.
Yeah, and that's why I got behind it. I went to Occupy Wall Street back when it actually happened. And when I saw the GameStop movement popping off in early 2021, late 2020, I started doing some research. I was kind of out of trading at that point. It kind of brought me back in because I still think, regardless of how I feel about the CEO, I think this stock is definitely one of the most interesting stories in the history of the stock market. And even like right now, they're sitting on $4.2 billion of cash. Like, I don't know if I want to write that. Is that worth a headline, Greg?
I mean, the headline would be like what they're going to do with the cash, what they plan on doing with the cash, right? But like, there's no conference call, like you said, there's no statement, so they just know they're sitting on cash, and that could just be them again holding their breath, waiting for a ball to drop somewhere.
Yeah, but I guess like the question is, okay, so GameStop's being valued at 8.2 billion, and half of that is cash, right? So like, where do we go from here? I guess is my question.
I mean, diversify their portfolio. I guess maybe they have some kind of plan, but like, why not tell us the plan?
My understanding, just this, I've had to fabricate my own theories because he won't tell us what he's doing. So I look at their balance sheet, I look at their lease obligations. They have a lot of non-performing stores whose leases are up in the next 2 years, so they can just keep paying rent, right? And get to that point where they don't have as much of a carrying cost for their business. So it's that a decrease in expenses, right, as revenues decrease. But like, are we gonna ever see GameStop with another $1 billion quarter? I hope. Probably Christmas, right? But
holiday would be the big the
Christmas.
big tipper. But that's Q4. I mean, people look at people. I mean, I know it's only like 4 months away, but like, good lord, like that's a while. Stuff could
But
happen
also,
between
like,
now and then. The election, yeah, we have an election. Yeah.
Will this Christmas be better than last Christmas or the one before for gaming? We're kind of in a multi-year downtrend just in video games, in hardware sales of video games. Software's been a little more volatile, but like, hardware's definitely down this year. And I don't think the $800 PS5 Pro is going to save the day. Can you imagine what a GameStop bundle is going to look like for that? It's going to be like, we'll put the disc drive and the console and NBA 2K and whatever COD and whatever Madden, and it's only going to cost you $1,000.
It's like, it's only 5 games and 4 controllers that you don't need. $1,500. They did that with. I hated that they did that.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
GameCube 4 controller bundle. Oh man, they did that with
that
Xbox.
Was really shitty. They did with the
Series
the Wii U
X.
too.
Oh, the Wii U.
Remember the Wii U? Like when the GameCube controller adapter that had like 1 game supported with it, like it was the Smash Brothers game, or maybe a couple more, but like not many games
what's
supported.
Happening to the stock? What the hell just happened?
You're changing us if you're changing the outcome.
What just happened?
Oh wow.
Right? Something happened, right? What just happened?
Okay, wow, all right, yeah, that's a lot of movement.
It is tanking all of a sudden, dude. I don't know what.
Soy.
I don't know what the hell just. What the hell was that? We don't know, right? There's no actual reason for that. That just happened.
Those are just machines following a weird algorithm.
Well, no,
right?
What happened? Yeah, like there was a rev strat down and a continuation of it. You know what? Let's look at the 15-minute chart now that we have it. Inside 2, and down. Yeah, the stock in the entire after hours trading has been trying to, find some sort of footing at around 23, and it broke down right below it. It's at 22 now. I'm trying to see if there's any. I don't see any reason for it. Oh. I guess we could post to social, I guess, that there's no GameStop conference call. I guess that's starting to spread around.
Yeah, they're like, where's the conference call? Did they have a conference today? No. They should have. It's like, yeah, we agree. They should have. I love that. Like, people comment on our articles and our videos. They're just like, this is ridiculous. We're like, yeah, we agree. We agree it is. Yeah. We're in agreement with you. We would also like there to be a conference call. No, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely moving. We've come a long way from my dad being on the phone talking with his stockbroker.
I'm trying to find a good GIF for this. I'm gonna go with the "I am not a cat." But yeah, I'll just tweet it. Yeah, I think we've already reported on their cash holdings, so I'm not gonna do that again. There's no point. And also, oh, you know what? The earnings report is now in real time, so people are reading about it. I guess it's that lag I was talking about, Greg. Like, people went, like, that the first 5 minutes, no one really knew what was going on. Let's see, has CNBC even reported on anything? Nope. Apparently Dave & Buster's reported after hours, Greg.
I'm sure they're doing great. I don't, like, there would have been a time when, like, a lot of those companies would have failed.
Wow,
and I think they just got sold up.
They're up 9%.
I don't get it. I guess revenge COVID is really a thing.
Wait, revenge COVID?
Yeah.
What? Like, are we gonna? Do we get to fight COVID?
No, it's basically like in 2020, no one could travel. So like, when the pandemic finally quote ended, right? When it ended, or when people got tired of it, and the world started opening up.
Yeah,
a lot of people had.
You really think in 2024 we still have reopening tailwinds?
I mean, I feel like we're taking our vacation in 2025 and in 2024, like the first time in like since the pandemic. We're like, I guess we're comfortable enough to travel again. Like, I guess, I mean, I think that's
you've been going to a lot of. You've been on assignment more this year than any of the last 4.
So I think it's coming back. Conventions are coming back. People are less afraid. You know what I mean? They're going out there again.
Concerts are doing well.
We have 2 people on assignment right now. You know what I mean? Like, the people are doing events again, like on our end, and like I think it's coming back to like a enormously until.
But that's the point. You were talking about a weak economy. How can it be weak if that's the tailwind? Like, because I can tell you just personally, like, I did that patio rebuild, right?
Yeah.
I didn't do that last year or the year before because it cost too much. Like, you remember how bad lumber prices got and, like, labor prices got in 2021, 2022?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm going to hold off. And then, like, late 2022, I had, like, a couple bathrooms remodeled. And then, yeah, this year we did that. I'm buying appliances now. But, yeah, I do think that the lockdown, the other side of the lockdown, yeah, it's still playing out in some places. But I don't think GameStop is one of those places. I guess Dave & Buster's would be. And they opened a Dave & Buster's in Canton where the Sears used to be. So, like, we didn't have one and now we do. So the company's still growing. I guess it's like a regional to national kind of play, but I wouldn't buy it. It's a $1 billion company right now.
Yeah, I mean, but like I have family coming in November. We're taking them to like it's like a Castle Park thing where like they have arcade and bowling and stuff. We're taking them there. It's kind of like a Dave & Buster's, but you don't have to pay $34.45 for a single play machine. That kind of crap. They're weird conversion ratio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But people are they're going out. They're going out again. I think, but like. That just doesn't mean that means that they're doing well. It doesn't mean that every industry is doing fantastic, right? Our gaming industry is hemorrhaging.
I fucked up my headline. God damn it, Greg.
Sorry, I was distracting you.
No, that's my fault. Sorry, guys. I have to September 4th. This is what I get for trying to copy the headline. September. There we go. Luckily, we have Twitter Blue because we use it on our Shacknews channel, our account, so I can edit the tweet. I can fix it. It was as of September 4th. Sorry about that. So yeah, I got the earnings results and I got the DRS number. I really think that's probably all I need to do. We don't know what's going to happen with the 4 billion. I guess the one thing we do know is that they did not repurchase. Oh man, now it's below 22. They did not repurchase their treasury position. That's what I wanted to say. So that's something of note. So Greg, you gonna buy that PS5 Pro?
Nope.
Why not?
Nope. I mean, like, I don't think like we're not waiting long enough for these console cycles to be a significant increase in whatever we saw. Like, I saw the presentation. They went in depth on like the AI upscaling and the ray tracing and all that stuff. And you're like, great, but it's just like, if I don't have one, am I gonna spend $700 on a disk drive, or am I gonna spend what, $450? Like about 40% less on a Slim. Like, I mean, you're gonna have your hardcore fan base buy it no matter what. Like, the hardcore PS fan base is gonna buy them just because they buy it. That's what they do. You know what I mean? Like, but no, yeah, I have a PS5 Slim. I don't. There's no. It's not a substantial upgrade. It's not.
I think it is a substantial upgrade. I do. I think the hardware is actually quite impressive, but I just don't. Now for the value. And I was talking to one of my friends earlier. Like, the PC is going to run laps around this thing. Like, it might be cutting edge right now, or as of this fall, but you know Nvidia is going to drop a new GPU in the next year, and you're going to get better performance on PC. But, like, for a console, I just don't know who it's for. $700 is a lot.
No, that's a lot of money for a console. I think 500 is already a tough sell, and like, you add another 200 on top of that without a disk drive, which makes it even like worse. But that's the thing. Like, you got to remember, PCs always run laps around. Like, nowadays, we're run laps around any console, but like, consoles can be optimized. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier to optimize for a console, so you can get it. You know, if you're playing it on a console, it's the best it absolutely can be without sacrificing, frame rate. But like, on a PC, there's hundreds of thousands of different builds, different processors, different GPUs, and they all have to be optimized. And like, it's just PC. I mean, multiple devs I've talked to said PCs and mobile, the two platforms, are a nightmare to optimize on because there's too many. There's just too many combinations. Mm-hmm. And someone's gonna have some type of build that doesn't work with it, or have crash issues or whatever.
I pulled up the 10Q for the company and just kind of brought it to the at the market equity program. So they break down the amount of shares that they that they issued earlier this year. So they did I'm clicking on the wrong thing. So they did a secondary offering of $45 million on the 17th of May. That was when Keith Gill was a billionaire that morning. And they made about almost $1 billion that day. And then they did another one on June 7th, right before the shareholder meeting. 775 million shares. So, over 100 million shares were issued. That's a lot of dilution. And to my earlier point, it decreases the short interest materially. And then, here's their cash equivalents. So they're sitting on a ton of cash. So they say we traditionally invested our excess cash in investment-grade short-term fixed income securities. They did not do that this quarter. That's kind of weird. It's still in there. And then this is just a breakdown of where the revenue is coming from, Greg. It's a decrease in all three categories. That's not good. Like, if they were getting out of something and into something else, maybe there would be some light here at the end of the tunnel. But, like, software sales down almost 50% year over year in the quarter.
Yeah, that's bad.
Hardware down less than that. Hardware actually did pretty well. And collectibles down. Like, collectibles shouldn't be going down. That should be, like, an upward trend for a while. You know what I'm going to search for in here? Because I'm a glutton for punishment. I want to see if they mention Game Informer. Not once.
You know what's interesting? Oh, they don't mention it once. Oh, you're searching it. Yeah, 0. Try GI maybe.
No. Magazine? Nope. They don't mention Game Informer. That's insane.
I'll tell you what's scary about the collectible stuff.
That's insane.
We talk about.
When did they shut down Game Informer?
Last month.
When?
Wait. Shortly after Summer Game of Jeff. So I want to say July.
I'm trying to. Let's see. Game Informer. There we go. August 2nd. That was the day before earnings.
July, August.
So
okay,
this definitely happened. The shuttering of of Game Informer happened during this quarter, and they make no mention of it.
There's no way that had significant amount. Like, there's no way shutting that down overnight had a significant impact. There's no way that they were losing that much money on a handful of gaming journalists' salaries.
That's my point.
There's no way.
That's my point. And they had a very small team over there. Like, it was like a skeleton crew at Game Informer.
It was like 4 or 5 people plus freelancers.
That was basically years. What it was.
Yeah.
But, like, where's the write down? Where's the write down? Have they not fully wound it down? Is that what's going on? Like, not a single mention of it? You just killed your flagship magazine and website and erased the website from the internet entirely? And you don't even mention it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they mentioned. I went to the game, and because it used to be part of the Power Up Rewards program, and now it's not. I think it's crazy though, not to even mention that they shuttered it. But to your point, it wasn't like they were putting it as a revenue segment or anything.
No, it doesn't make journalist websites don't make money. Like, they just don't.
I don't know, man. Someone out there's making money.
I mean, influencers make money, but like that's
no,
brands who are people make money. I feel like that's the big thing.
Well, Shacknews is a people then. Congratulations. We're an influencer now. Let's see. I'm trying to think I'm just trying to figure out where would Game Informer being shuttered show up. Disposal of property, plant, and equipment? No.
Yeah, like where would they put it? It would just be a cost. Labor, maybe?
No, because they have to pay severance and... Let's see, did they mention layoffs at all? Employees? They mentioned employees 3 times. Huh. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else for us to talk about here, Greg, but it's unfortunate that it's unfortunate that there's so many people out there who get violently defensive about this stock. It's like, just use logic and reason when you analyze it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we live in a world where facts don't matter. It's only feelings. So...
Yeah, people say that, but then, like, I don't know. Like, here's a fact. if you pour hydrochloric acid into your eye, it's gonna hurt. Now here's magical thinking. I can pour hydrochloric acid in my eye and I won't feel pain. Guy pours hydrochloric. Oh, ow. It's like, it doesn't matter. Your magical thinking doesn't matter. Like, people need to realize that. And it goes beyond stock investing. It goes to the selection. You could talk about that cognitive dissonance bubble that you're talking about, Greg. It's everywhere. It's the magical thinking behind cryptocurrencies. It's the same nonsense you hear from Trump supporters. It's the same thing everywhere. It used to be like, if you were ignorant about something, you wouldn't bloviate about it. Now it's like, I'm armed with misinformation from a YouTuber that I like, so now I'm going to tell you what I think about this thing that I know nothing about. That's the problem right now. Is that the internet gave everyone a bully pulpit to say whatever they want, and spoiler alert, there's a lot more idiots than people realized. And it's scary because stupid people or uninformed people are being victimized by shills and crooks left and right. And you see it. You think about how many crypto coins we've seen and how they're being used in pump and dumps. So yeah, it was NFTs, it was crypto, it was VR, and now it's AI. But it's the same shills.
And to be fair, like, I mean, not just to play devil's advocate, like when those people were promoting those, they'd already made all their money. The money had been made. Like, the money was already there. I feel like from a consumer standpoint, like low key, it's like when a company goes public, I feel like all the millions of dollars has already been made, and I kind of get some cases I get the scraps. I did it with GoPro.
You want to see a chart that disproves that? And I don't even like this company, but
that's interesting. Educate me, because like I did that with GoPro and I lost everything, and I was like, oh,
here you go.
Okay, Greg. I guess all the money had already been made.
You want to feel bad about not investing in something? Look at this is Facebook's stock chart.
Oh my God,
that's the IPO. Nice. That's the IPO. $38. It's at 504.
What year was that?
2012. So yeah, like, and for a while, you were right. It fell from 38 down to 17. So for that first year, boy howdy, were you right. But man, if you bought it at 17, steal of the century.
Yeah.
But even if you held it from 38 to 17 to 500, you're up a shit ton. So like, there's an example of a stock that like the IPO happened and it had a lot of room to run. Here's another one. Google.
Oh yeah, well yeah. That's the .com boom though, right?
No, this was after, Greg. This is 2004. This is in the desolation of the tech bubble. Google IPO'd a year after the market bottomed in the NASDAQ for $2.66, currently at 148. So I don't mean to like say that you're wrong.
No, it's fine.
Like,
no, if
I'm just
wrong,
providing some evidence that like, you know, and I don't necessarily like this company that much either, but Tesla IPO'd at a split adjusted number of like $4, $5 a share, currently at 162. So I think your point is not wrong, because like, here's a good example. Donald Trump's tech company, the Truth Social company, they announced it. It shot up to $175 the day that they announced that Donald Trump was joining them. It's currently at it's currently at $19.
Oh wow, that's a lot of loss.
So there's an example of an IPO that was actually a SPAC, like a reverse merger. But that, obviously, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Shills being put into terrible, terrible things.
What about GoPro? Because that was my first time I ever had money to invest.
You know what's funny, Greg, is that like, yeah, I begged you. I was like, don't do it. I said, buy Nintendo. But yeah, you got in probably in the 40s. It shot up to 90, and now it's at $1.26.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who's buying it here. I own GoPro, Greg. I bought it for $1.32 because I think it's just kind of cheap. Like, if it doesn't go bankrupt, I think it's kind of cheap here. So full disclosure, I own it, but I didn't buy it at 90. It's a function of price. But your point is right that like companies these days are being opportunistic with their IPOs because the market's very frothy, so they can get a good valuation. They can lock in their money, right? Insiders are locking in their money with IPOs. You're not wrong about that. But my point is that sometimes a good company may be doing that where the founders get paid, but it's still cheap enough in the long run for other people to make money. It's about finding those stocks. And I can tell you, I run screens looking for valuable stocks right now. It's not easy, man. There's not a whole lot of cheap stocks out there right now. There really aren't. And the ones that appear cheap, they're in the shit, like GoPro. They're struggling. But yeah, anyway, back to GameStop.
I mean, that could change. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's a market that could change. Like, I'm just making a theoretical, like, just example. Like, what if, like, Apple decides that GoPro is going to make their cameras on their phones, then their stock goes up, right? All of a sudden, that could, I mean, that, I'm not saying that won't happen or is going to happen, but I'm just making it an example, right? That's one example of a market that that'll change that stock tremendously if they're putting their cameras on iPhones. You know what I mean? Like,
or like Apple just straight up buys them. Or like Sony I don't think Sony would buy them. Their optics division is awesome. Sony needs to be broken up, honestly.
I mean, I have one.
Sony's camera tech is outstanding.
No, we have the Xperia V. Like, that's what I shoot on now. That's, for those of you who don't know, the Xperia V is like one of their prosumer cameras where they actually test their lenses before they go into Apple. Like, that's like kind of like their beta hardware. So, but they have awesome lenses, and they put 3 lenses on, and they see how they do, and they put it to market, and then Apple goes, we like these things, and they remove things and change things, but they make all their lenses, I believe. Sony makes their lenses.
Sony has been an Apple supplier for a very long time.
Yeah,
and their optics division is outstanding. I think the gaming division is in a little bit of trouble these days, but like I still think it's their largest revenue segment. It's just weird. Sony's like massive, dude. They have like a life insurance company. They have music, pictures, television, and they don't really work together well at all. But yeah, like GoPro could get saved like that. I think the brand is worth something. Like, it's a good brand name at the very least. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently the revenue miss is a big story, right? When you asked earlier, Greg, what would I rather have, an earnings beat revenue miss or a revenue beat earnings miss? And I kind of was like, I don't really know. I don't like either of them. But I can tell you that the market is reacting poorly to the news out of GameStop this afternoon. That's what that chart shows us. That's not us making an opinion. That's us just stating a fact, which I know is a dangerous thing to do on the internet in 2024. Facts. Another fact, Greg, and I'm going to completely derail this before we get out of here. Haitians are not eating cats in Ohio. That's not a thing. There are not Haitian immigrants eating cats in Springfield, Ohio. That is not true. But if you go to Twitter, certainly seems like it. But that goes back to what you were saying. Like, this whole, like, you can just say what you want to say on the internet now. Oh, man, the Walkman. Talk about peak Sony. That Walkman. I'm talking about did you have the Walkman that could play a cassette tape and it had a radio transistor built into it? That was, like, next level amazing. Because you could, like, listen to the radio, Greg, or your sweet mixtapes.
I remember tapes. I'm old enough for tapes.
Do you remember mixtapes?
Yes.
Or having to push the buttons at the same time.
I remember being able to, the first time we were able to record songs off the radio onto a tape was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, oh my God, quick, hit record. It's going to play the song, hit record. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, yeah. Those were the days. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Right? I think we're done here. We don't need to.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have any questions, chat? Greg, do you have any other questions?
When did GME, if it ever was, when did it stop becoming a meme stock? And start. When did it start, or when did it stop?
I don't really recognize it as that, so I just disagree
There
with
you
the
go.
whole. I disagree with the whole label. Um, but this is when the mainstream media started referring to it as a meme stock, when it almost bankrupted Wall Street, and it hit 120 and 75 cents in January of 2021. They lumped it together with like AMC and BlackBerry, and at the time Bed Bath and Beyond. At one point they tried to tell us that silver was going to be the next meme stock, even though silver is a fucking commodity. uh so yeah, I would, this is where I sound like someone who's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but when Wall Street saw what was happening at GameStop, they started hedging their bets by creating a basket of stocks that would move with GameStop. So they were short GameStop, but they were long AMC against it. So it was a way to basically short selling arbitrage. Now, is that still going on? I don't know. I don't think so. Because AMC has been decimated over this time period. If you look at their, I can't believe I'm bringing up an AMC chart, but look at this AMC chart, Greg.
I was, we were living this, and like I'm telling you, I was amazed that some of these companies just did not go belly up. Like I was amazed they were able to just limp on. Like
I mean,
they just
they've issued hundreds of millions of shares to stay alive, to pay off their debt. But like, when here's GameStop stock, right? Look at GameStop, and now look at AMC. Right? Look at GameStop, and now look at AMC. They were being lumped together over here, right? They were both meme stocks, right, Greg? But you're down over 90% in only one of them, is my point. So, like, they said they were the same, but they weren't.
mm.
So, like, I reject the label. I don't think GameStop is a meme stock. I think it's a special situation in the market. And I think it's a company that's solvent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I may not like the management. I actually intensely dislike the management of GameStop, but they are a solvent company. They are not on the verge of bankruptcy. Many companies are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. So I think yes, there was speculation involved in investing in it and trading it, but it does not mean that, like, it was a meme. No, I go back to Keith Gill had a fundamental call that he made, and he put all of his money into it, and he won. And that made everyone think that you could become a millionaire overnight too. And that's the dangerous part, is everyone thinks they can become a millionaire overnight, and they're just getting carried out on stretchers trying to trade options. Options expire worthless most of the time. I'm just glad there's been an uptick in martial arts movies lately. I feel that. Aren't we getting a Karate Kid? It's pretty dope. But yeah, appreciate the folks in the chat, even the ones who called me all sorts of names today. That was fine. I'm sorry that, you know, you get so emotional about stocks, but like, there's a saying, I think it's from the movie Wall Street: don't cry for money, because money will not cry for you.
A good quote.
And yeah, trade the market you have, not the market you want. That's from your boy. But yeah, I think this is good enough time as any. This is like almost like a Game Trader live almost, because instead of covering the conference call like we would most normally good companies, we kind of have to create content around this, because otherwise it would just be us reading a press release and being on with our day kind of thing. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Subscribe to our YouTube channels. Right, we got 3 channels now, Greg. We have Shacknews, Shacknews Interviews, which that hyperlink's broken in that, and then Shacknews VODs. So plenty of places for you to watch stuff. You can also just read our website. We write articles there. I don't know, what a concept. You don't even have to use a GPT bot or anything. You can just go to our website and read. What else do we have going on? Yeah, Shacknews interviews. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, that'll do it. We got some cool stuff coming here in the next month, so keep it locked on Shacknews for reviews, interviews. I know Greg's got a lot of interviews from PAX that he's going to edit. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me, Greg. And manage your risk, folks at home. Bye-bye.